Sensational hosts Gilsey and Drucilla.
Hello.
Welcome to the last episode of our first season of Moon Moments. Thank you for sticking around with us for so long.
Thank you.
We are the podcast where we discuss the Sailormoon canon for moments that we affectionately call, you guessed it, by now, you should know it, Moon Moments.
Which are moments that we feel exemplify what Sailormoon stands for and represents. So now today we're discussing the final episodes, as Gilsey said, episodes 43 through 46. So let's start with the least devastating in this batch of final episodes.
Oh my gosh. Drusilla, I was bawling these last two episodes.
Mm-hmm. I told you, I texted you and said, man, this sucks. I'm bawling, yeah.
Oh my god. And then I was like, my mom's gonna walk in and she's gonna be like, why are you crying so much? And I'll be like, it's nothing. It's an anime, Mom. It's
just fictional characters dying for each other.
Oh my gosh. Okay. The episode that didn't give me as many tears. We're talking about the freelance writer episode, right? Where she's disguised as that reporter.
Oh, yeah. You said freelance. I did not...
we forgot your summary.
Yeah, I was waiting. Like, you just totally jumped in before I said the summary. And I thought you were giving me an open to jump into it again. And...
I forgot.
It's just too much, listeners. We just want to jump in. But for those of you who don't really remember episode numbers 43 through 46, for episode 43, the Senshi are fighting amongst themselves, and the Dark Kingdom means to take full advantage of it. But wait, it's actually a clever plan designed to find out where the Dark Kingdom's HQ is? Also, Usagi came up with it? What? Next up, it's backstory time as the girls travel to the moon and have a history lesson with Queen Serenity. They and we learn how the Moon Kingdom fell thousands of years ago. Which brings us to D-Point. Our warriors travel to the Arctic Circle, one by one falling to the DD girls while protecting Sailormoon. And before she can face off against Pearl, she's got to fight Mamoru, who's been super brainwashed this time. But our girl saves him, though he succumbs to his injuries, and she goes on to face Pearl, helped by her friends. In the name of the moon, she'll punish you.
Oh, chills. That was a good summary.
I can't make any jokes I can't make many jokes here. So I think it's obvious that we need to start at episode 43 and work our way to the end, because it wouldn't make sense to do it any other way. I didn't have any moon moments for any of these episodes, and that, I know that sounds shocking, but hear me out. The reason was, I feel like most of our moon moments, or all of our moon moments, they tend to be things that we can tie into the real world somehow. Whether it's reaching out to people who think something might be going on with them, maybe not, but you're still going to reach out and make sure they're okay. Or standing up to someone who is really terrible, trying to protect someone, encouraging someone. And the thing was, in these episodes, the first two episodes just don't really have anything like that. And then the final two episodes are just... if I was going to give moon moments in those episodes, everyone would have multiple moon moments because they're just all amazing and they're smart and brilliant and they are fine with sacrificing themselves if it means less monsters in front of Sailormoon to get to Beryl. And I feel like you can't really relate that to a real world thing. So in my definition of a moon moment, I didn't think there were any here. But I am very easily persuaded that basically every girl is a moon moment in the last 2 episodes. And, everything that happens is just... I don't think it takes away from the fact that there are no moon moments there. It's still a spectacular... I'm sure we'll get into it, because it's not like we're not going to talk about the last 2 episodes just because we didn't have any moon moments in them.
I feel like once we start talking about those last 2 episodes, you're going to see my eyes tear up, or I'm just going to be really excited. There's just so many emotions running through these last 2 episodes.
When I wrote the summaries for these episodes, I cried. I had to read and reread the summary multiple times so that I got used to it, and so I wouldn't tear up while I did it on the podcast. Also, you only had to watch these episodes once. I watched the sub, then watched the Deke version, which they cut so much of those episodes up that the Deke version is actually only 1 episode instead of 2.
Oh, really?
And they cut the most brutal scenes and things like that. And so it's not as bad. And then, because I thought, well, I want to see how the Viz dub handled this, I watched the 2 episodes again.
Drucilla, why do you do this to yourself?
It was not a smart idea, but...
okay. So, episode 43, with the freelance porter person, when it was revealed that it was Usagi's plan to basically try to fool the Dark Kingdom into thinking the Sailor Guardians were all arguing amongst themselves, that was really smart. I would have thought it would have been Rei, maybe not Ami, because she's a little more methodical in the way she thinks, but I feel like this has like Rei's brashness and let's just do it kind of thing written all over the plan. But when they were like, it's Usagi's plan, I was like, wait a second, what? Say that again, rewind. The last part where Rei was holding everyone back and being like, no, don't go out, don't, just hold on a second, and Mako was like, so you really don't care about Usagi, and then she pulls out the silver crystal, and she's like, you don't think I care? Why would I have this if I didn't care? I already knew that, these episodes were going to be brutal.
Yeah, I gotta obviously bring up the Deke version in our final episode. That moment is so much better in Japanese than it is in the Deke version, because in the Deke dub, Mars pulls out the moonstick with the crystal, and they're like, Mars, did you? And she's like, it's not what you think. The dummy just left it in my room underneath my bed. It's a much more emotional moment in the Japanese sub. But yeah, this entire episode, I couldn't help. In previous podcast episodes, we talked about, because you had specifically given, I think, a mini moon moment to Luna in one of the Rainbow Crystal episodes, where you had said her giving the stick to Usagi and having faith in her was kind of like a mini moment. And we talked about how I didn't even think about it as a mini moon moment because I just hated this whole fake, is Usagi ready to be the leader? Should someone else be the leader and have the moonstick plot that the anime was trying to force feed us? And I was thinking, imagine a season of Sailor Moon where this does come up, this question of, is she fit to be our leader? And it's sort of bubbling through various episodes. The episode with the painter Rainbow Crystal carrier, where she just leaves them in battle to go chase after Zoisite and Tuxedo Mask, leaving the girls to fight this monster on their own with no way to turn her back. Seeing these moments bubble up throughout the back half of the show, and then to just have this episode, and for most of the episode, think that the scouts have actually turned on Sailor Moon. And then the twist at the end that it was all a ploy, that it was, in fact, Usagi's plan. Oh, well, let's just pretend that you guys are coming after me for the crystal and try to, join up forces with them. It would have been so good. But, I mean, this episode is still really good. I still like it a lot. Like, they reveal their hand very quickly.
Oh, right.
With that, chasing Usagi and Rei kicking her in the butt and Usagi getting mad about it scene. And it's kind of a shame. I wish they had held on to it a bit more. So you had this, what's actually going on? And like I said, if we'd had this line throughout the back half of this season of, is Usagi capable of being the leader? It would have been awesome.
So I know that, like, animes and shows, whenever they adapt things from manga or books, they sometimes reorder events. Do you think it would have been better if they had reordered that to go right before this episode?
So do you mean the episode where they're questioning her leadership to immediately come before this one?
Yeah, because that event, I think
it would have worked better if
it would have.
The episode where they questioned her leadership was a bit different. Because at the end of that episode, Luna kind of acquiesced that, you did stand up for your friend and you did defeat the bad guy. And Mako is also there, I think, and sees, Usagi can handle herself, mostly. I think if that episode had ended with people less happy with Usagi, and then it led into the episode of them trying to chase her down for the crystal, like this episode, I think it would have worked better. It would have made a bit more sense, I think.
Because when I watched this first episode of the set, I was low-key kind of confused in the beginning because I was like, oh wait, did I miss something? And then I thought, oh, they're probably just training, like Luna's probably making them fight each other to practice their powers and stuff. But then they were all arguing, and then it finally clicked for me that they were trying to, like, argue amongst themselves. It's not just training. So I think your idea of having that, like, that seed of doubt, and have it carry through would have been really great, especially since, like, us as viewers, we know what's going on in their lives. They're fighting and they're civilian form, and we already know that Usagi and Rei are not always on the best of terms, and Rei can be very convincing when she wants to be. So I could easily be swayed into thinking maybe Rei has said something that's like, oh, maybe we should step back and consider if Usagi is a good fit for the role as leader. And yeah, I do wish that seed of doubt could have carried through, and then it would have made more sense for them to all be arguing instead of being just thrown into the middle of it and then, oh, there's a jewelry heist. Because yeah, I was a little confused in the beginning for a hot sec.
And I think it could have worked a lot more after you get the, oh wait, Tuxedo Mask is now evil like those episodes. Because first you have Usagi just not really taking her leadership seriously, and she's kind of a spaz. But then once he becomes evil, she loses focus so easily in a battle when he appears. And that could have compounded the Senshi's frustration with her as a leader. The idea that, hey, we know that you love this guy, and we're gonna try everything we can to bring him back. But right now, there's an innocent person at stake, and you know that if he was in his right mind, he would want us to save that innocent person. Actually, we don't know that, because Tuxedo Common doesn't necessarily, I mean, he's one of the good guys, so we'll assume that that's what he would want. But I think her continuously
just kind of like jumping in, even though the girls can be like, oh, it's a trap, like, let's think about it for a second. She still jumps in, which I think we discussed in a previous episode. It's a positive trait for her, but it's very, I think it was that episode where there was the imposter Sailormoon, where I think we actually gave her a moon moment because she was like, I don't care who it is, even if it is a trap, we have to save this person. But it turns out this is also her undoing, because while she still wants to save someone, and granted, she is blinded by love, here it's a weakness for her, because she's not listening to anyone. She refuses to think in a coherent kind of strategic way, and she basically puts herself in needless danger.
This episode, it was really good. Could have been better.
Oh, there was a quote that I really liked. I think when Ray kicked her, and Usagi was like, something about, you made a crack in my butt. Like, you kicked me so hard, there's a crack now. Amazing. Great line. But yeah, this episode was really good.
Yeah,
but
no moon moments. Although, I don't know, we give an honorary moon moment to that freelancer's outfit that's straight out of the 70s. I don't know what it was doing in... I love those pants, though. Like, okay. I wish I had a pair of those pants.
I wish I had a pair of those platforms. TBH.
So, I guess our history episode, where we get... So, we get backstory for the fall of the Moon Kingdom, and it's a pretty heavy-ish episode because the girls are trying to find the entrance to the Dark Kingdom. They get attacked by Kunzite. The Silver Crystal, because he says he's going to teleport them to like a chaos dimension, but the Silver Crystal seems to co-opt whatever he does and brings them to the moon, where they can speak to Queen Serenity. And the things that we see, like, it's funny considering the next two episodes and how brutal those will be. This Fall of the Moon Kingdom is a lot more sanitized than I would think. Like, it really fits in, I think, with the tone of the rest of the series, where the Sailor Scouts are all taken out at once. It's not, like, heartbreaking at all. Like, it's just, they're just, like, Metalia just, boom, you guys are gone, and then Serenity and Endymion are just, like, sucked up and zapped, and then they're dead. It's all very bloodless, and I don't know a good way to describe it. Not at all what we are going to experience in the next two episodes. And it's so...
Right.
I actually never thought about it until right this second. How different this episode could have been if they went the way of what they did for the final episodes. But something that I am forever grateful for that they did change, and I don't know if this was we need to change this because it's too violent, or we need to change this for cultural reasons. If someone could... If a listener could let us know, I'd really appreciate it. And also, I will put this in the description. Trigger warning for suicide. Usagi kills herself in the manga and in Crystal. So when Endymion dies, so he's protecting her, and who we find out later is Beryl, cuts him down. Usagi picks up his sword and stabs herself with it. And then... fast forward to, she's trying to break the brainwashing spell on Endymion in, like, present day. She realizes that she can't. So she picks up his sword and slashes him with it. And it's very Buffy, like I said in, was it our previous episode? So it is very Buffy season 1. But she then turns the sword on herself and kills herself. And obviously, I hate this. But they make this change in the original anime, and I'm curious as to why. Maybe the sponsors didn't want it to be like this, or... I don't know. This episode is a lot less bloodied than it could have been because of the source material, but also because of the episode itself. That was a very long rambling. I didn't have a point to any of that. I just I like that we finally learned stuff about this.
It's Sounds very much like Romeo and Juliet-esque, with the losing a loved one and then following said lost loved one.
Which I wouldn't be surprised if that's where Takeuchi got her inspiration from. Because I can't remember, I'm sure I'm misremembering this, but it was something like she was writing a romance that just happened to have, like, magical girl aspects. That's the way she described it, whereas the anime is more magical girl aspect show that just happens to have romance on it. Like, everything is much more romanticized in the manga than in the anime. I will say, we were just talking about how the whole Usagi's the leader and we're gonna give her the moonstick and the moonstick signifies the leader. In this episode, I believe it's Queen Serenity says, only someone of royal blood can wield the moonstick. And the cats are, as far as we understand, the cats are not reincarnated. And it opens, like, you thought it was just like a little tiny plot hole. No, it's like a huge, gaping Grand Canyon kind of plot hole. Because if the cats aren't reincarnated, they should remember everything from the Moon Kingdom. And if you argue that maybe the girls don't look like their past selves, and that's why Luna and Artemis don't necessarily recognize them.
No, they look exactly the same.
Well, I mean, you could argue that it's more like what Queen Serenity shows them is kind of putting their current, like, faces on to make it easier for them to understand. Or a lot of what I think shows and movies dealing with reincarnation try to do is, or when it shows people, like, in a past life, they might use the same actors to prevent confusion, but they say, oh, like, I recognize your soul, and so you just look the same to me.
Okay.
So, but I don't understand, like, why, it's like, oh, Sailormoon can wield the moonstick. That's weird. You know, I thought only someone of royal blood. And also, there apparently has never been a Sailormoon before. Why is there a Sailormoon now? And I'm nitpicking. The show obviously had no idea how this was all going to play out. The only other thing I have for this episode is when Kunzite is dying, he says, "You won't make me yell refresh," which is... it blew me away when he said that, because it's like such a meta, not a joke, but it's such a meta reference, because I never thought it as being, I don't know, I just thought it was like an involuntary thing that the villains said when they got cleansed. It was a great line. And then he calls out for Zoisite.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up. So he's calling out for his lost love. For you, I'm gonna join you. I'm coming for you. This is all I need. This is all the confirmation I needed. We knew that he had feelings for Zoisite, but we didn't know. But now we know because my heart was just soaring.
Well, if that's those two episodes. Before we get into these two episodes, give me your overall, just like not moon moment related stuff, just your overall feelings, your thoughts, when you watch these two episodes. Which, had you seen them before?
Not since I was young. So this has been the first time I've watched it since I was like 10 or whatever. I mean, watching it, usually, I guess whenever people usually think of animation or cartoons, quote unquote, they don't really think of it as something that can hold very heavy themes, or it's just something that's very lighthearted, something that's for children. Which, you're all wrong. It's bullshit. Because I think we've definitely proved time and time again, not just in this podcast, but in other animation media, like, animation is able to carry out and have these really heavy themes and just have it hold a very heavy significance. And with these two episodes, I mean, I already told Drucilla that I was crying. Like, we've both said that we were crying throughout these. And it was just, like, you get the girls, and they're all basically-ish, newish friends, because I'm guessing it's around like the same school year. It's been a school year or like a school year and a half, but they've all gotten really close in a short amount of time. And then you get all this like backstory of, oh, they were friends in a previous life, and not only were they friends, but they were also fighting with each other. And you get this in these 2 episodes, where that kind of prevailing friendship throughout their reincarnated lives and throughout from this life to the next. Not to quote Avatar: The Last Airbender, but there was a scene where Toph was asking Aang if he thought that they would still be friends in his next reincarnation. And Aang was saying, yes, I think our friendship is powerful enough and strong enough that we will be able to be friends and recognize each other in my next life. And that really carried out through me for these girls. And this is such a powerful thing. They don't really remember, but they know that like they're just kind of meant to be, I guess, as soulmate AU, but friends. But yeah, I think this is just the long version of me saying that I had chills throughout both of these episodes. And it was just very, very touching. And my 27-year-old self is still quaking as much as I'm sure my younger 10-year-old self was, but even more so because it holds more of a significance, I guess, since it's so hard to stay in contact with friends the older you get.
It's so crazy that you bring up the mature animation aspect of it, because I was going to say the exact same thing. Team Hive Mind. As I was watching this, I couldn't help but think that the previous 44 episodes do not prepare you for these last 2. Nothing comes close, not even Nephrite's death. The entire show is basically, hi, I'm Usagi Tsukino, I'm 14 years old and a bit of a crybaby, and all my friends are gonna die for me. The show does not prepare you for what is going to happen in these final 2 episodes. I was thinking about cartoons as I was growing up. Obviously, anime is a completely different beast because in Japan, animation is not limited to quote-unquote for children like it is in the West. And today we are incredibly blessed, not only kids, but adults like me and Gelsey who enjoy watching cartoons. We're blessed with shows like Steven
Miraculous
Universe.
Ladybug. Oh.
Yeah, Steven Universe and Owl House and Avatar: The Last Airbender, and these shows that don't talk down to kids. That really say, here's some emotional candy to chew on, I guess. I don't know, that's a horrible metaphor. I'm going to cut that. But, they don't talk down to kids. Whereas when I was growing up in the 90s, I watched shows like Rugrats and Hey Arnold, which did have some kind of mature episodes. And, shout out to anyone who remembers the show SWAT Cats. And then, as I got older, stuff like Codename Kids Next Door and Kim Possible, these shows, I wouldn't say were dark by any means or had super mature themes. But today, we're blessed with shows that are not afraid to go into that territory because they trust that their audience can handle it. And with Sailormoon, it's just so crazy that this is what the show ends on. And it doesn't feel like normally when you have a show or a movie or a book or whatever that shifts tone so wildly as this, it's a disaster because it comes out of nowhere and it's very hard to follow or whatever. But it fits here. It makes sense. And maybe they could have set things up better throughout the show, but for the most part, they stuck the landing. And I can't think of another show that is like this. That for the entirety of the season is fun and light and bubblegummy, and then the last few episodes, everything just gets real. The closest I could think of would be if you had a season of Miraculous Ladybug that was the normal, fun, slightly ridiculous show that we all love, And then the season finale, which is always a two-parter, everyone dies, including Cat Noir, and Ladybug has to fight the big bad on her own. Like, that is the equivalent. I mean, that's basically what happens in Sailor Moon. And I don't think we see this stuff nowadays. Shows either start off all like sunshines and rainbows, and that's what you expect throughout, or you get stuff like She-Ra, who they knew exactly what they wanted to do going in, and they built to it, and they stuck the landing at the end. So,
I am thinking of, have you ever seen Star versus the Forces of Evil? That
I
kind
have
of started,
heard about it.
Ooh, it's really good. You should check it out. But it does start off as like very bubblegummy, very, oh, I'm Princess, I'm Star from a different dimension, and I'm here to learn about Earth things. And does start off as her being very airheaded, kind of happy-go-lucky. But then there's the last few episodes are just like, wait a minute, there's something sinister going on here. But if you haven't seen it, check it out, because it's very magical girl-esque. I think the creator pulled inspiration from Sailor Moon, because she does have a transformation sequence. Shows now, especially in the animation front and in Western media, I think have been starting to realize that their audience doesn't just encapsulate younger children. I think if you've ever seen Infinity Train, they really delve into mental health and talking about the negative, like darker quote-unquote effects of it. And I think it's really interesting how, as we've progressed as a society, we've started to be more, I guess, trusting of the younger generations and what kind of truths they have to endure. And it's kind of like, maybe we're low-key preparing them for what's to come. The way that Sailor Moon did it, I was just not prepared. Like, I know you texted me that you were crying, but I was like, I know I'm going to cry, but I didn't know to what extent.
And it's just each one, it starts out so brutal, because Usagi's making food for her family. Yeah! And she's making it because she doesn't know if she's gonna come back, and so she wants to leave this one, happy memory with her family. And it oh my god, it starts out like that.
And you think, or at least when I was watching it, I was like, oh, that's weird. Usagi is trying to make a meal for her family. And then you cut to the shrine scene where she's asking Rei if he's kissed Yuichiro. And you get that's her last meal. Like, that's why she made it. And that's just like, you think, oh, fun and games. And then it's like, boom, darker side.
And it gets even darker if you think about what would have happened if they hadn't been reincarnated at the end. If they had defeated Beryl, but they just were all dead in the Arctic Circle. Mako lives alone, so it would be a long time before anyone, maybe the school would reach out and try to figure out why their student was missing. I don't know how schools work in Japan. But obviously Usagi and Rei's families would immediately call 911, missing child alert, Amber alert, and I assume Ami's mom would do the same, and we don't really know much about Minako's situation, but yeah, these girls they save the world and no one ever knows. Their family doesn't know why they're gone. They don't know what happened to them. All they have are these two cats left, and that's it.
It's like they all of a sudden start talking, and then they're like questioning their own sanity. Wait a minute, am I going crazy because my daughter just died? Is this real?
You're right. I didn't even think about that. I don't know if Luna and Artemis would they just sort of leave the families and go off on their own, or would they try to give some closure to the family? I don't know.
Thankfully, we don't have to
think
about that.
Although Takeuchi did try to kill them off, but her editor said no, don't do that. In parentheses, we're making a lot of money. don't just kill them off. The thing about this and that first episode, is your moon moment in that first episode, or is it in the second episode?
It's kind of like overarching
in
these 2 episodes.
Go ahead and talk about your moon moment first. Let's actually talk about a moon moment on a moon moment.
So my moon moment is, I feel like it's going to be just super obvious, but it's going to be Usagi getting up and continuing to fight even after witnessing all of her friends and her love's death. I know that we're going to make the argument of this is duty versus being like a human being, but my argument for that is that yes, this is duty, but this is also kind of the first and, in their quote, like in her mind, like last battle. And she was preparing for this even before they stepped onto that battlefield, for this to be her last kind of thing. Like, she had that with her family, she had that like last meal, she made that, and she was making sure that the girls were able to kind of resolve any unresolved issues, like her asking Rei if she kissed Yurichiro yet. And then they went around and Mako was like, oh, I want to I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna experience my first love and experience all this love. And then Ami's like, oh, I would love to, like all of that. But she goes into it thinking this is going to be my last thing, and she does it out of duty and she fights out of duty, but she's also doing it because she wants to protect her family. Otherwise she wouldn't have made that meal. She's been begging throughout the whole thing, like, please, I just want to give the silver crystal up. Like, I don't want anyone else to die. I don't want anyone else to suffer because of this silver crystal. Like, let's just give it to them. And she was just very willing to give that up in order to keep her friends alive. And they keep dying in front of her, and it has to suck, right? It has to suck that you're seeing your close friends die, and you're seeing them like basically say their last words, like, oh, don't worry, just give me 2 minutes, I'll be back. Of course I'm going to be okay, I'll be fine, just go, I'll catch up with you later. And she knows, right? She knows when they die. She like has this like feeling or something because they're connected, and it just keeps breaking her, and she keeps wanting to be, just let me give them the silver crystal. And that's why I think this is duty, but this is also like, I care for my friends. I will give this up for my friends. And the fact that she just keeps fighting even though she's broken and has basically just been begging her friends to let her give the silver crystal, I think that is a moon moment that she just keeps going.
I really want to give it to you because I want these episodes to have some sort of moon moment, but the fact that she does try, I'm fine with her trying to offer the silver crystal in exchange for her friends' lives, because they know that on some level Usagi knows that something bad may happen. That's why she makes food for her family and why she tells Rei that she should have kissed Ichiro. But she's not prepared to see it happen directly in front of her. I think maybe in her mind, she's like, if something bad's going to happen, it's going to happen while we're fighting Beryl and we'll be together. I don't think she was prepared for her friends to get taken out one by one in front of her, especially since they're sort of protecting her. So I'm not ragging on Usagi because she tried to give the crystal up, but I think where the argument sort of breaks down, like this, I actually did not like the scene where she's, after Mars has died and she's sitting there by herself and her friend's ghost have to come and like give her a pep talk. I think this is what makes me, I did not like the scene, and I think it's what
were they ghosts or... Because I thought it was her thinking about her friends and thinking this is what they would say.
I kind of assumed they were ghosts, especially since in the final battle, they appear and lend their power to her. And so I assumed that they were kind of ghosts both times. Maybe I'm wrong. If they aren't ghosts, if it is just Usagi's imagination, then maybe I'm more comfortable with the scene, because I've said it a lot throughout the season. I wish Sailor Moon just had a bit more, I don't know, agency. I'm fine with her sitting on an ice sheet grieving her friend, but I wish she was pulling from herself in order to get herself to stand up and to continue on. And if those are the ghosts of her friends telling her that she needs to get up and move on, then it's not as strong as... I'd be okay with it if it's really her imagination. These are what my friends would say to me. And so that does pick her up and get her going. But there is a line in the second episode that I think Beryl says something like, your friends died for nothing. And Sailor Moon kind of has this moment of, okay, I'm done with this. And I think that's when she blasts Tuxedo Common with her tiara. And I wish that kind of moment had been, I don't know. I mean, I don't want it to seem like I'm raining on your moon moment parade, because I really do want to give this a moon moment. I just think Usagi doesn't take a lot of the steps herself. It's people pushing her to take those steps. And the problem with, once Mamoru dies, she has that amazing moment where she says, I can't kiss you because my friends never got to kiss the boys they love. And then she stands up and goes after Beryl. But at that point, she doesn't have anything left to lose. You know, her friends are gone. The guy she loves is gone. Yes, there's the world and the cats in her family, but at this point, there's no one beside her that can be taken away from her. So she finally has the mentality of, well, this is it. Now I have to go take care of this. So I think that's why I'm not 100% sold on your moon moment.
Okay, so if they were not ghosts, if it was just Usagi thinking of her friends and thinking of what they would say in that moment, would that sway you? Because this would be coming from Usagi.
I think so. If it was Usagi imagining what the girls would be saying to her in that moment, I could maybe let it slide.
It's like pulling teeth from you.
I know, it just... because then I could argue that it is... sometimes you get to an incredibly terrible place in your life, and you think that you can't go on anymore. But something, whether it's yourself or another person or a fabulous animated TV show from 1992, it gives you the strength to keep going even when you are at the lowest of the low. It is complete darkness. You cannot see a way out. Being able to take a step forward is being able to find something that helps you take a step forward is incredibly powerful. And I would say, yes, that is a moon moment. So I guess it hinges on whether we think this is the spirit. Because if it's the spirits of the scouts, then absolutely no way Usagi needs to take this step on her own for it to be a moon moment. If it's just her imagining what the scouts would say, then I think, yes, I would consider this a moon moment. And interestingly, when the scouts surround her at the end and combine their powers with hers, it's interesting because she sees images of the girls, and it's almost like she's summoning them to her.
See, that's what I was
she's thinking about their
too.
friendship.
Because, like, there's that weird flashback, I guess you could call it. And I was thinking that this was not so much the ghosts of the girls coming back, but more of it like in memory of them, and because she is remembering them and all their good times together, that is what is giving her strength and the power to do it.
I actually kind of like the idea that when she's sitting on that cliff, it is just her imagination. It is not the spirits of the girls. And then when she's in that moment and she needs more power in order to defeat Beryl, and she's using her feelings of friendship. I like the idea that she is so powerful, she is literally dragging... Okay, that sounds bad. She is literally pulling their spirits from wherever, because I'm sure they're watching this happen. You know, I'm sure they're above her watching this happen, but her love and her friendship and I guess the power of the crystal, it's just so strong that it is saying, hey girls, I need your help one last time.
Who's to say that, do we know what the extent of her powers are with the silver crystal? Because if we draw from that idea that she might be, like, pulling the spirits of the girls towards her, could it be that it's also kind of unlocked another power because of the crystal?
The silver crystal's powers are never fully explained, because then it wouldn't be able to be an all-power MacGuffin that Takeuchi can use it to do everything. I mean, we see...
Because, like, it could do so
Queen
much.
Serenity.
Resurrecting a bunch of girls would not be far off from being, like, all-encompassing power.
I think the key is something in... I don't think it's in the anime, but I think it's in the manga. They say the key to using the crystal is... It's like your heart's wish. Like, it uses what's in your heart in order to do whatever it is to do. And, I mean, it takes all of your energy, you know, depending on what you're doing, it could kill you. And I think with Queen Serenity, she wanted to make sure that everyone had a chance to live their life. So she sent them to a future on Earth where they would be reborn, hopefully happily, normally. But the power ultimately, you know, in doing that, it killed her. I think Usagi, the end of this first season, gets incredibly lucky because she uses the crystal. Beryl is dead. Usagi, like in her last moments before the effort of using the crystal kills her, she says, basically, I wish everything could go back to the way it was. I wish all of us could just be normal girls again. And since that is something she's wishing with her last moments, and because the crystal is still, like, I assume, like, pulling energy from her to cleanse the world, it uses this wish of hers, and that's why the girls get reset. I don't think it's a good gets rewarded or the crystal is inherently good, and so it's making sure that its user and her friends are, you know, everything is okay.
Yeah.
I think Usagi got incredibly effing lucky in this moment. And that's why all of them are reincarnated at the end. Also, Takeuchi's editor was like, don't kill everyone. So, I mean, that's my personal opinion. I think going forward it'll be interesting to see how the crystal is used in, especially final battles for the rest of the seasons. But, yeah, I think that is my opinion. I think she just got very lucky.
I don't know why, like, the ending of this first season, when they were saying that everyone is reincarnated, it kind of felt like a cop-out. I get from the, like, production standpoint that her editor didn't want Takeuchi to just kill them all off, so this seemed like a very good compromise. I guess, plot-wise, it kind of mirrors what Queen Serenity was trying to do with reincarnating the girls. But it felt like a cop-out just because we didn't really see... There was no, like, little in-between of, oh my gosh, the girls are... All of them are gone. The Earth is about to perish, and is in those ruins. And I kind of wish there was just that maybe 5-minute just peek into what a world would have been like if the Moon Kingdom was gone, was, like, defeated, but all of this destruction is there.
The Dark Kingdom?
Yes, the Dark Kingdom.
Not the Moon
The Dark Kingdom. Because I think that would have made a little more of an impact once we find out that they are reincarnated. And also the fact that they forgot the whole thing. Yeah, it just feels like a bit of a cop-out. I kind of wish there was just a little bit more.
as much as I'm so happy that we get 4 more seasons and we have a lot more time with the girls and everything. At the same time, if this series had ended either with them all dying at the Arctic, like beating Beryl, but all dying at the Arctic Circle, and that was it. Tragically, the heroes sacrifice themselves and they save the world, but no one ever knows who they are or why.
Yeah, I
and
wish there was like that little bit, you know? I feel like it would have held more weight. Like, oh, like evil is defeated, Earth is okay. Oh, wonder what happened. Oh, like the family kind of goes throughout their day not knowing that these girls sacrificed their lives.
Yeah. I would have been okay with an ending like that, or I would have been okay with the ending, just the end of the first season. They saved the world, and they, I don't know, got rewarded. They're reincarnated after dying, but they don't remember anything. And so they'll go on with the rest of their lives without that knowledge that maybe they'll meet each other again, like Artemis says, and they'll become friends, or maybe they won't. And because most of them go to different schools, so maybe they just, they never meet and they never know about this bond and what they did together. Like, that would be also what an ending. And I can just imagine I imagine like a Drucilla from an alternate universe that has like only had 1 season of Sailor Moon and had one of these endings, and her hating me because like, you get 5 whole seasons of Sailor Moon. Are you crazy? Like, I would have loved to have had 5 seasons of Sailor Moon.
Alternate
universe Drucilla.
Alternate reality Kelsey is probably like, what are you talking about? Like, stop. You already don't have another season of Noragami. Now you want to take Sailor Moon away from me too? Like, when does this nightmare end? But I don't know. I just feel like it would have hit different, to put it lightly. It would have hit different.
If there had been that, wait, is that it moment?
Yeah.
Is this how we're really going to end things? And I agree. At the same time, I don't know how they would have done that, because as the crystal's doing its thing, it's incorporating on this stuff. So I don't know how you'd have this brief time period where we have like the horrible alternate reality of, or not horrible, but the alternate reality of the girls just being big damn heroes and no one ever knowing.
Yeah. I think it's...
I'm on board with what you would have liked to have seen. I don't know how they would have made it in the
without,
show, though.
like, knowing that they would have a second season.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So, I thought you meant having this time of, well, this is it. The girls are dead, and that's that. I thought you were also incorporating the end where they are reincarnated.
Oh.
But...
No, like...
I see what you're saying now. Having the final battle and then having the last 5 minutes, 10 minutes of the show just being life without the girls. And then the second season
was them
stuff.
reincarnating.
Okay,
yeah, that's...
I see what you're saying now. Now I am more on board with it. I am now more on board with it. Because then you could have started... I mean, obviously this is rewriting huge chunks of the show, but you could have the second season start with
you could literally
Uranus
have it start
Neptune.
the same time. Oh, I was going to say the same exact way that the first episode of the first season started.
Oh,
like,
I like that.
Right?
Yeah.
They could have done just a little bit, and I know past me would have hated me for this, if not knowing if there was a second season, but that would have been such a good end point. And then picking it up right, like, full circle, kind of.
Yeah, like having, you start the second season and you're in the Tsukino house and alarms going off. Oh my god, Asagi is alive! Like, how did she get there?
Yeah, and then she's like, oh, I'm Asagi Tsukino. Like,
yeah. I really like that now, and having her go to school and be friends with Naru, and then seeing Ami in the background, but she's not friends with Ami,
yeah, exactly.
So... Yeah,
and then, as she's running to class, I don't know, there was a shot of Jupiter. You just see them, but they don't interact. Like, you just see them in the background.
Yeah, and Luna isn't there. Yeah. She's more, like, if you see her, she's sort of watching over Usagi. Yeah, okay, now I'm really digging this. And I guess a few things that I just want to highlight from these episodes. Mako takes out 2 of the DD girls, and Ami doesn't take out any of them, but she is so tactical in how she approaches it. I wished we could have seen more of this throughout the show. She tells Mars and Venus to go on ahead because they have more firepower than she does. And she stops the first attack of the DD girls. And then, doing something that no one else on the team can do, uses her bubble spray on herself in order to protect her from their second attack. And then, using her computer, which is kind of the symbol of her intelligence, she breaks the gem to prevent them from using these attacks on her friends. And it's just, Ami...
She's so smart.
I think Ami can often get lost because she's the quietest among the girls. But there are moments where she shines. And this is one of them. This whole scene, it works so much better in the Japanese version than the Deke version, because they just strip away a lot of the tactical stuff that she does, and it's just amazing. And the fact that Venus saves Usagi, and I mean, in my opinion, it's her reaction time, because she's been a scout longer than anyone, so I think that's her previous battle experience, and the fact that she's had a longer time doing this, that's why she's able to save Usagi. Because she's able to react. Because, in theory, Rei is also looking at Usagi when this is happening. I mean, it's not... I did check to try and confirm this. I guess you could argue that because Rei was also tearing up when she was telling Usagi, we have to keep going, I could see if maybe she's not looking at Usagi and she's trying to remain kind of stoic, and or maybe not let Usagi see that she's also tearing up. And so she doesn't see the attack coming up from underneath him. But I like to imagine that they're both looking at Usagi, but Venus just has a much faster reaction. Because we also see it in her episode, her backstory episode. Because she's standing by herself next to the bay, and she's thinking about all of the stuff, and she's so sad, and then she sees a butterfly, I think, float by, and she's like, this is not the season for butterflies, and then immediately kicks into kick-ass Venus mode, and she dodges an attack immediately. I think it's her reaction that saves Usagi at that point. And I wish she got more of a scene, but I think the scene that she has is very telling. And she also blasts the monster point blank range with her crescent beam.
Which was badass.
Mm-hmm. But if I had to give a gold star to a fight, or, an attack, it would have to be Rei's, because she nails the monster that's coming for Usagi, and then even though the DD girl has written her off as being beaten, she just grabs her and puts everything she has into one final attack.
Yeah, oh my gosh, I don't know if you can see my hairs, they're just standing on end. Just that whole scene just gave me chills. Every time the girls were just about to die, they gave it their one last, and the way that each of them carried out their last hurrah was so telling of each of the girls' strengths and, personalities. We talked with Ami how she was very tactical with it, and then with Rei, I could say that she's just so cocky and so brusque. Even through the end, she is still I'm gonna do it. This is what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna defeat you no matter what. And then with Makoto, she's had the training beforehand, right? And so she's able to do that point blank range, the precision that she's
do you mean throughout. Minako?
Minako, yes, okay. Minako. with the precision that she's like garnered through her experience fighting. And then there's Mako. She's very like physically like strength power. And so her last hurrah was kind of whole like thunderbolt show of strength kind of thing. Yeah, I just thought it was really cool.
Yeah. And we also never see anything like this again, I don't think. Even in final battles to come. Like, the closest I think we get is maybe Stars. Because I think with Stars, it's 4 episodes of the Scouts dying, I think. But you don't see anything like this, really. I think in the Sailor Moon R movie, maybe you kind of have this sense of the Scouts falling one by one, but I don't think anything really comes close to what we have here. I think if you have someone who says that they don't want to watch Sailor Moon because there's a lot of filler, or it's too repetitive, or its main character is annoying, and it's just so bubblegum pop kind of thing, first, smack them for me. And then second, make them watch these last 2 episodes. Usagi as a character has a lot to do with Sailor Moon's mainstay, but I think these last 2 episodes put the Sailor Moon anime on the map.
So one of my friends, I was telling her about this podcast, and she's never seen Sailor Moon. And so I was telling her how there are different versions of it. I told her about how the Deke is a little more...
kid-friendly.
Yeah, a little more kid-friendly, but more... It kind of reminds me of Ghost Stories with how ridiculous it is with its dub. So I was like, I mean, if you liked Ghost Stories and you like that kind of ridiculous feel of it, or go for the Deke dub, but if you want something that's closer to the manga, like Crystal, and then I was like running her through it, but... So there are options, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. And I respect that Crystal stayed closer to the manga. That said, maybe this is a hot take. The reason people love Sailor Moon is not the manga. The reason people love Sailor Moon is the anime. And I mean, I feel like this is a wrap-up kind of conversation, so I may just like put a pin in it for then. But when I finished watching Crystal for this rewatch, because I've said, you know, I'm reading the manga and I'm watching Crystal, I felt drained in a bad way because of what Usagi does, because of the way it ends. I mean, the world is still saved. It's fine. I don't think the girls die in the manga, but I still felt drained and kind of icky with how it ended. Watching these 2 episodes, I felt destroyed, but in a good way. Sometimes you can watch something or read something and it just be so depressing and devastating that you just don't enjoy it. And then sometimes you can watch something and it be so depressing and devastating, but you feel so good because it was done so well. Like, it didn't feel cheap. It didn't feel poorly written. It felt appropriate to what is happening. I had some other things to talk about, but I feel like I mean, maybe I'll mention them in the wrap-up, but it feels weird to talk about them now, so.
Is that what's going to do it for our last season 1 episode?
I think so. Yeah, that's a wrap, I guess. And
so we will actually be back for another episode, which is going to be, we've been alluding to it this whole episode, but we're going to talk about a recap episode where we're just going to go through what our thoughts were on the show, how our views have changed since watching it from we were younger to now, and just like anything that we didn't get to bring up in the other episodes that we either didn't have time for or we just wanted to discuss a little further. But no, I know you all will miss us tremendously, but fear not, Sailor Simps, we will be back. Don't forget to check out our social media on Twitter and Instagram at moonmomentpod, and we also have a website at moonmomentpodcast.com. There you will find our show notes and transcripts for every episode.
And definitely let us know what your moon moment musings are, particularly for our wrap-up episode. Send us your thoughts via Twitter, through the Contact Us page on our website. Moments that we missed, moments that you agreed with. If you have questions for us concerning why we decided one thing is a moon moment and why one thing isn't, are you going to yell at me for not having any moon moments in these episodes? Let us know. We'll talk about it in our wrap-up episode. Of course, if you'd like to support the podcast, please rate, review, share, and of course, subscribe. You know, it really helps Moon Moment stay afloat amidst the vast ocean of podcasts. I'm Drucilla.
I'm Gilsey. We'll see you, Moon. Bye.
Bye.